the life that you are living now, it's not the type of life that you should be experiencing. You should be experiencing way greater than you are currently. Where you currently find yourself is not where you are supposed to be. The people that you are with, sometimes they are not the people that you should have been with. The career that you are in, that's not where you're supposed to be in at this moment. Because remember, you've got the current reality and you've got the destination of where you want to go. And there's something that stands between this current reality, which is, and your destination, which is your personal vision. And it boils down to one thing. It boils down to 4-letter word: fear. In this video, I'm just going to talk about fear and how fear is holding us, how fear is creating a creative tension within us for us not to reach the destination that we deserve. But before we go deeper into it, may I ask you to subscribe, follow, watch, like, share, so that we can continue to build this community of dreamers as we continue on our quest to cultivate personal mastery, self-worth, and leadership in others. I'm not the first person, and I will not be the last person to talk about fear. There are many of us who talk about fear because it remains a reality. You know, if something does not change, we'll constantly talk about it. We'll come up with different angles, different storylines until it reaches down in your mind, into your subconscious, that you can defeat fear. But let's just ask a question. What is this fear? So fear is an unpleasant emotion. It is anticipation of danger, of pain, or something harmful that will occur as a result of you taking a particular step. But let me pause a bit and say, for some other people, this fear is a result of past experiences, the hardships that maybe the person has endured, the treatment that this person has been taken through, or some incidents that happened. And as a result, the person always this fear comes up when the person thinks of what has happened in their lives. And me saying that does not mean it's a justification that you should remain in that state for you to be fearful. It's something that you can face head on and do something about. But for some people, this fear is something that we play over and over in our minds. Hence, the word anticipation of danger, of harm, of pain. It's something that is just there in our minds. And we know that this fear has got the potential to stop us to dream, as I've already indicated. It stops us to form the right associations. It stops us to open businesses that we are deserving. It stops us from pursuing careers that we should be pursuing. So it is something that we've got to work on so that we can be able to change our lives around. But before we go deeper into it, let me just remind you that in your lifetime, fear is not going to go away. I'll make an example with just being able to address a few people. You might be afraid to address, let's say, 5 people, and then you garner the courage with time. You practice and you practice, and tomorrow you become comfortable to address these 5 people. And as time goes on, this 5 grows to 100. And because the levels have changed, it brings a new type of fear. And then you've got to deal with fear, this fear again. But remember, the activity is the same. The activity is speaking to people. You're just moving from 5, because now the number has risen to 100, then it brings another fear. And then you work on yourself, and then you are able to work on yourself. And now let's be dramatic and raise this number to 10,000 or 1,000. Then fear starts again to say, can I handle 1,000 people? Can I speak to 1,000 people? So you constantly have got to work on yourself. There will be moments when fear comes into play. And most of the time when I get people into my coaching space, or even in normal conversations, I come to realize that there are at least three things that people are afraid of. And that's the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and just the feeling of inadequacy to say, I'm not adequate, I cannot handle these responsibilities. Yes, there might be more fears than this, but basically that's mainly the type of things that people are afraid of. And when I ask people to say, give me a list of 5 things, and here I'm talking a coaching session, give me a list of 5 things that you are so afraid of doing, and let's write them down so that in the next week you can go out and do exactly the things that you fear. Before people would pen down those things, they will go into overdrive about how they cannot get to that particular list. It's not helping. I know this is not going to work. And immediately at that point, you start to realize that people are playing it in their minds and they are setting themselves up for failure. And that is where, as a coach, I come in and ask questions, and that helps people to reframe what they are thinking at that particular moment. But in a nutshell, the things that people say would be things like, what if I appear stupid if I have to approach this particular person? And sometimes this happens when a person seems to be superior or seems to be knowledgeable, and the conversation leads us to a situation where the person has said, I'm afraid to ask this person for advice. And they say, what if I appear stupid? And the alternative is, what if? And then ask them to write something that is positive, an alternative of what they said, so that their mind changes. What if they refuse my proposal? You haven't even presented a proposal, but you say, what if they refuse my proposal? And we lack at that moment to see the value of that rejection of that proposal, because obviously, if you meet somebody that is reasonable and you ask the right questions, they will give you reasons why the proposal was rejected. Isn't that in itself a gift so that you can go and rework your proposal? What if they don't respond to my call? And that's another way in which people play in their minds to be able to stop themselves to do something. It's actually fear, but then it appears as a statement. What if they refuse to respond to my call? What if the person is currently busy, is not convenient? How about changing even your strategy of contacting them? Maybe just like dropping a note to say, at what convenient time can I call you? But now people stay with that truth, and then they do not make calls because they are afraid to call that new client, to call a new person that they will be doing business with, or a new person that is going to guide them on something else. And the funny one that I've had is, what if I won't be appealing into the future? And this one, I have seen with people who are afraid of aging, are so concerned only about their looks, and they are afraid, for example, to go and talk to other people, and they say, what if those people won't like how I look? They won't like my appearance. What if I'm not appealing? And sometimes this is said by people who are actually appealing when you look, just looking at them. But all of us, we are appealing one way or the other. It is just about our own presentation as we approach other people. And you realize at that point, some people just require validation, but they have repeated this over and over, such that it has become a fear of venturing out to be able to do certain things. What if I'm laughed at? What if I get lost in town? The last one is about people who are afraid to go and venture into new places, to take themselves into a town to go buy something or to search for a new place that will provide them an employment. And they say, what if I get lost? So to you and me, it might sound as silly, and you might ask yourself, but there's Google out there, there's navigation, there's Uber that can take people there. But people use those things as part of playing over and over fears in their minds, and they remain in those type of situations. So we can make many examples about how fear plays out, but the reality is, even in these examples that I've given, the more you play this over and over, the more you create a new reality. And the more you create this reality for yourself, that is, the more you look for evidence that will support this reality that you want to believe in. For example, I've got a friend who more than 10 years, he has bought a car more than 10 years, but he hasn't driven. Not because he does not have interest in driving, because he is fearful of driving. And he has gone to a point where if there's a particular accident, he will then quickly tell you about the high rate of accidents that are happening out there. He will tell you about how taxi drivers are reckless. So he is gathering all this evidence to prove his thesis, to prove his theory, why he wouldn't drive. But then he neglects many other people, including myself, who always come to him and even drive with him without accident. And I'm not saying I'm not prone to accident, but I'm saying, see how the mind plays. People will collect evidence that supports them, that validates their stance, instead of looking at what the alternative could be. And that's how fear plays in our minds. And I'm saying to you, firstly, acknowledge, and I've said this before, acknowledge if you've got a fear of something, because that in itself gives you power to be able to deal with this particular fear. And once you have done with that, do that exactly the same thing that you are fearing. For the people that I have coached, as I said, sometimes I give these people this exercise. They go out and they realize that they didn't die because their proposals were rejected. They were not laughed at as they had assumed that they would be laughed at. They didn't get lost for going out and searching a new place. And they come back with this relief. And then we say, how can you maximize that experience for your future experiences or your future encounters? And then they've got something, a reference point that they can work on. And we all can do that, because there's always an alternative for us to defeat this fear. But if we continue to play it over and over, then the tension between our current situation and the destination that we're going to that we want to achieve will not happen. This chasm between will continue to grow wider and wider. And as that happens, there's more frustration, there's unhappiness, there's disgruntlement, because you know deep down that you don't want to be in the current situation. And the fact that you are in this situation is something that will give you a level of unhappiness. And it is for that reason that I would like you to walk with me. Contact us. Let's talk about this thing. Let us coach you through this process of being able to handle your fear, so that you can be able to move mountains and become the best version that you deserve to become. You are the leader that you had been waiting for, and that leader must wake up from the rubble so that the world can become a better place as a result of your contribution. If you like this content, please subscribe, follow us, and let's make dreams made possible a voice to be reckoned with, because we cultivate personal mastery, self-worth, and leadership in you and the next person and the next person. Until the next video, I thank you.